not uncommon in some instances to experience a little bit of pelvic floor dysfunction. There's a few exercises we can do that can help us to really optimize how the pelvic floor and the diaphragm work together as one synchronous unit. Pelvic floor dysfunction can manifest in many different ways. So just like our breathing strategies and our basic abdominal brace, these are exercises, the exercises I'm going to show you now with Terry's help. These are really good to do on occasion just to make sure everything is working as it should be. If you recall from the video on breathing exercises and strategies, we looked at another video, you can see it here, of how the pelvic floor and the diaphragm move as a single synchronous unit. And that's what we want to train. We want to make sure that both are working together. Sometimes the pelvic floor can get stuck. A great analogy to think about is imagine your pelvic floor is an elevator in a high-rise building. And as that elevator is coming down, it gets stuck on the middle floor. So as we work through this, we'll focus on making sure to get the pelvic floor to drop all the way down. There are 3 levels of exercises we're going to look at that become progressively more challenging. Don't be fooled by the word challenging, however. These are very low stress, very easy exercises to execute well. We shouldn't force anything. This is not at all intense strength training. Rather, it's low-level activation training just to make sure things are working well together. So the first thing I'm going to ask Terry to do is bring her legs all the way up toward her chest. She's going to grab her shins. So by pulling the legs toward the chest like this, what we're basically doing is putting a little bit of a stretch into the pelvic floor. That improves proprioception to the brain and sort of turns on, if you will, that connection between the brain and the pelvic floor. So this is the first level of training. In this position, keeping our legs in this position, I'm just going to ask you to go ahead and come back to that 3-dimensional breath and focus on that as much as you can. So really bringing the breath down into the belly, but also allowing the rib cage to expand. As you exhale, Tara, really think about full relaxation and expansion. Of course, the inhale is where the diaphragm and pelvic floor are moving down toward your feet. So I want you to imagine pushing them all the way down as you inhale. In the next level of training for the diaphragm pelvic floor, very simple adjustment. I'm going to ask Tara to go ahead and raise her trunk and head slightly off the floor, and then do exactly the same as you did before. Focusing on that 3-dimensional breath in that belly, expansion of the rib cage. This is a little bit harder now because we've got activation of the anterior abdomen reflexively here because she's raised her trunk up off the floor and the head up off the floor. So it's a little bit harder to focus on that lower abdomen and allow for that full expansion. Now the next and final level that we'll cover today is maintain the same head and neck and trunk position, but let's bring one leg down to the floor. You can even extend it if you would like. So what we're doing here is just adding a little bit of a twist to that pelvic floor, again increasing the dynamic challenge, if you will. Same goal though, focus on a nice 3-dimensional expansion, that 2-1-4-1 breathing strategy. As you inhale, push that elevator all the way down to the bottom floor. That's what we're focusing on. And then a nice relaxed exhale. And then of course you can shift legs, go in the other direction and give it a try. So there we go, basic and foundational pelvic floor training. If this has been a challenge or a problem for you in the past, you'll find these exercises to be sort of life-changing for you. but they're great preventive or prehabilitative movements to incorporate into our restoration and foundation training.